Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Lengling. I am here on behalf of the MO2VATE magazine, and with me today I have Susan Totman, and she is a article. She submitted an article into the Christmas Bumper Edition, which is issue 4 of MO2VATE magazine. It's a global magazine, brainchild of Sharon Brown. She is also the founder of Revival Sanctuary, of which MO2VATE is underneath that umbrella. And I want to welcome Susan for being a submitter of an article, which was a great article entitled When Disaster Strikes, Will You Be Ready? And there's some great information in here, Susan. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and for the opportunity to get into the magazine as a contributor. It's a really cool thing.
It is exciting how it's a global magazine. This is literally just the fourth edition, but it has really exploded globally.
It has for good reason, though the content and the magazine itself is beautifully designed. It's just a really great opportunity.
Certainly is. It certainly is. So I want to dig right into your article because talking about when disaster strikes, and of course, this past, in 2020, all sorts of different disasters struck around the world. And a lot of folks, when I was reading your article, I'm thinking, you know what? It's basic tips and something that we should all be thinking of. And we do, but then we just say, yeah, someday I'll take care of that. Or, yeah, maybe in a month or so, I'll be able to sit down and really get that taken care of. And that's probably not the best way to prepare. So I want to read a couple of the areas of your article, and then I want you to expound upon them, if you will.
Sure.
So one of them here is you have preparation for the unknown can be overwhelming, a daunting and uncomfortable task that many of us shy away from as we move about our daily busy lives. We tend to focus on what is the moment rather than on what might happen. Now you shared some personal stories within your article about, things that happened that obviously you weren't planning on and it was a disaster that struck. Can you share about a little bit more about, I think there was one in here, something that you lost all the data or all the data was lost for your customers?
Yes. It's happened more than once, but the most poignant one, I guess, was when my roof blew off, and it not only affected all of our electronics but our entire home. And at the time, I wasn't prepared. I didn't have a full backup of my computer. I lost everything. And we were able to recover some of it later on, but because I didn't have a backup, I had to reach out to my clients, which was incredibly embarrassing, to ask them for information, proprietary information, some of it that I had been working on for them. And so it was pretty frustrating and intimidating and scary. And after that, I started to think about how was I going to prepare for that if it should happen again? So after that, I always did backups, but that's just one little facet of it because there's so many different possibilities and, you know, uh, incidents that can happen over time.
Now you've been a business owner working in the virtual business world for close to or if not more than 30 years, correct?
34 years this year.
34 years. So, and that's a lot. That's a lot of time of your life. That's your business. Have you run across, do you share that with your customers since most it's all online and you have to have some sort of, disaster plan in place? Since you lost your roof and such, how has that evolved for you? Do you share that information with your customers saying this is what we have in place to secure and keep your information safe?
Yes, we actually go through a list of not just the tools and the mechanisms and the strategies, but we also go through an actual plan, which I've developed to help people to make sure that they cover as much as possible. It probably doesn't cover every single possibility that could happen, but it covers the information that you're going to need if a disaster happens. Either your computer crashes or you have a tornado takes your house, which happened to one of my colleagues. Um, Things that, or a flood, like in Louisiana, things that happen
Right.
and they happen fast and you don't have time to prepare. If you're not prepared, you're in big trouble. So yes, we do review. I review it with all of the small businesses that I mentor. and we go over what are they going to do if something happens.
Right.
I had a young colleague who, it was really tragic. It was before the days of social media. We were in the Yahoo email messenger groups. I don't know if you remember those.
Yes.
Ancient times, but but we were discussing, whatever web design strategies were going on that day. This is probably around 2000, 2001. And one of the girls in the group, a message came through from her husband and said she was in her 20s and said that she had passed away at her desk.
Oh,
And it was horrible. She had a stroke. He had no idea where to start. And so that's the kind of eventuality that we don't think about,
right.
and we don't want to think about, but we need to begin to prepare for it.
And as you're talking, I'm
Just
sitting here
thinking.
thinking, I live in Northwest PA, and you live in the States as well, on the eastern side. And sometimes we get some pretty darn good thunderstorms and stuff that come off of like lake effect and things like that in the summertime. Lightning strike.
Hmm.
I've had my televisions be blown up from, a lightning strike direct to the house or right near the house, and it fries all the electronics on that side of the house. So yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely need to, and I need to too. This is actually a really good reminder for me, so I'm glad I was the one to do this interview. So now
I
I
will.
know I need to get my own plan in place. But you have on your website, you will be having it updated very shortly, an actual free disaster plan that you're offering on your website that people will be able to download.
Yes.
And what does that entail? Just give me some examples of what's on a disaster plan.
It's actually pretty intricate because it has a lot of different information, but it's important. And you don't have to do it all at once, but you definitely should do it progressively so that you get it done. But it includes everything from I have a personal one that's separate, but it does include some personal information that someone might need should something happen to you. So they would need access to that. But then after the initial personal section is information on your websites, where it's located, social media accounts, how to access them, um, assets. What do you have for assets? What do you have? And I'm talking about business now.
Right.
What do you have for assets? What do you have for softwares? Where are your license keys? Where are, any supports that you have, like a VA or any other colleagues that you work with regularly, all of their contact information, all of your client information as far as contacts and that kind of thing, which that type of thing needs to be updated pretty regularly if you
Sure.
have multiple clients. So, um, where you keep stuff stored, like, on what cloud do you have it stored? How do they access it in the event that something should happen to you? Or in the case of like, lightning strikes, one of the things that I have is a section on how to, what am I going to do if I lose electricity? Here in Maine, in the winter, we can lose power for 10 days.
Oh, sure.
And,
Yeah.
and my client in California is like, I don't care if you have power. I want my work.
Right.
So I need to make sure that I have a backup method, and you need to think ahead about that. What are you going to use? Right now, what I use is I have we have a generator, and we have the capability to power like my cell phone, which in turn can be my modem for my computer. And I have a way to charge my computer. So I'm able to work because everything is service based. I'm not product based. So I can do pretty much anything, even if I'm completely isolated.
Well, and that's
So
that's
that's,
that's ideal actually for
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but you have to know what you're going to do in the event that you have an eventuality like that, because working virtually, whoever your clients are, no matter how nice they are, no matter how wonderful they are, they're not going to understand if you can't get the work done that you contracted for. Period.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and as you said, they're not going to care that you have a snowstorm.
Right. So not every disaster is related to, um, like something, weather related or something huge. Sometimes it's just that, oh no, I lost power and it's been
Right.
days, or
Right.
no, or things like that. What are you going to do to make sure that you're still available? And if you're not going to be available, who's going to be your backup?
Right. Exactly. Or and as we're talking, it could be so many different things. If you fall ill, like,
Right.
look at the past year.
Yeah.
You're down for the count for 10 days or so, very ill or God forbid in the hospital.
Yes.
You need to have a backup for that as well, because you don't have time for things like that to contact your clients. A lot of times if it's just boom, it happens. You've got to take care of your own self, and those.
Yes,
Yeah, that's a lot to think about. And how do you give me some, if you've got some examples or maybe just some tips? Because as I'm listening to you talk, it's almost a mental overwhelm of all the stuff that I
it is.
personally have to put in place, and I can feel myself getting stressed just thinking about it.
Yes. And that's why I say to do it a little bit at a time. Choose a section that you're going to work on and do it a little at a time. Because when you try, it is a lot of information to pull together. And if you get overwhelmed, you're going to stop. You're just going to put it on a shelf and you're never going to look back. So do it a piece at a time. It's in Word, so you can go into Word and you can type it in if you choose to, or you can just hand write it, throw it in a notebook, and set a schedule so that you work, say, an hour or two a week on it. You don't
Yeah,
have to do it in little chunks, but get it done. Make a goal and to do like a section a week or a section a month or whatever, and get it done so that when the time comes that you do have an urgent emergency, then 3 years ago my sister died very suddenly, as you know. And when that happened, my brain just imploded. I couldn't think of clients. I couldn't think of anything. So having um, that kind of list of people that I could fall back on that I already had in place was priceless.
yeah. No,
So
I
it's just
imagine.
and that was based upon all the years of experience knowing that stuff happens.
Right.
That life just happens and you have to roll with it as best you can. And if you can't, at least have a plan in place to cover your clients and your business to
Right.
hopefully keep it from crashing.
The one thing that I have started in the last month was I have a notebook, and I'm literally, as I have the, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, it's a notebook of nothing but passwords and
Hmm.
programs that I use. So that's all going to be in one notebook. And we were talking off mic here that, I have one daughter. If something were to happen to me, she's got to be able to, she's the one. And
Hmm.
I wouldn't want her to be losing her mind. So I'm trying, at least at least the part that I'm starting, which is for personal and business. I've got the notebook split in half, but I am handwriting everything in there. I'm putting it in pencil right now because a lot of times the passwords and stuff like that change, but at least I'm trying and I have thought of it. Do I have a lot more work to do? Wow, yes. Now, yeah, as I'm listening to you, and I know that the folks that are, probably watching this now are thinking, "Oh my goodness, there's an awful lot to that." And like you said, I guess that's the best way. Just take it one chunk at a time and don't let it overwhelm yourself, because at least you're putting forth the effort, and at least,
Yeah.
and if something were to happen, God forbid, at least you've got, to me, I was thinking I at least want all my passwords. So if I am on my phone and I have no power for 4 or 5 days, which has happened before, that I can at least access stuff on my phone and have my passwords and everything,
Right.
that way, at least to access things. But that's a lot to think about. That's an awful lot. Yeah, that's a lot to think about. And I really did enjoy, I enjoyed the article, because I like how you said, large or small deviations from our normal lives alter our ability to continue as usual if we don't have a plan. And
Hmm.
that's something we really have to keep in mind. Large or small deviation.
Hmm.
An illness.
That's very true.
A
Yes.
sudden illness, you might be down for the count for 2 or 3 days. Just the normal yearly flu. Look at this craziness last year. People ill and being hospitalized, and it just rocked everything, and
Hmm.
businesses suffered and individuals, and you and I work with a lot of solopreneurs and entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So you don't have that whole team behind you.
You don't. And I got to tell you that you really need to know and trust who you're going to give your information to. That's really, really, really important. A lot of people are much too trusting and much too giving, and they think that other people are like them. But be very, very, very careful who you give that information to.
Really good advice there. Now, I have a question now that you brought that up. So do you think it would be wise? So if you're looking, like, I don't have a partner in my business, it is me. But I do need a backup. Now that we're talking, I know I need a backup. Do you? And my first thought was whoever I choose that I hopefully personally can totally trust. To have them sign an NDA of any sort.
Yes, I think that's very valuable. I actually consider any relationship should be a business relationship should have some sort of a contract. I don't care how close they are, whether they're family, probably more so with family. But I think that it's really,
You're right.
but
You
it's
are
really
right. Yeah.
important because, especially the non-disclosure. I'll give you an example. I knew a virtual assistant, and she got very ill. She went into the hospital. She was working with a person who was being a sub for her. And when she went in the hospital, she trusted this person implicitly. She gave her computer, she had her husband give her laptop to this girl so that she could do some work for her while she was in the hospital. And what she found out when she got out of the hospital was this girl wrote to her, she using her laptop, wrote to her clients and said, "Oh, I've taken over her business." And she stripped her of most of her clients. She wasn't even able to get them all back.
Oh my
So
goodness.
be aware who you trust. That's why you develop the relationships. I mean, before I gave this information that I have on my plan to the two ladies that have it, I mean, I've known them for years and years, and we've worked together, and I trust them implicitly. So you got to have a good relationship with
Right.
whoever it is you're going to give that information to. Like you said, your daughter. I mean,
Right.
that's perfect.
And I would still, I think, want to have a non-disclosure in place.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But there's so
I
much to
agree.
think about. So much to
Yeah,
think about. And that, non-disclosure agreement for, and there's so many different kinds. You could probably find simplified templates, I guess, online for
I
something
think
like that.
you can, but I think they're pretty individual for, especially like a non-disclosure specifically. I would probably, it wouldn't cost that much to have a lawyer draw one up that you could use with multiple people, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say I would defer to an attorney for that.
Okay. Good, solid advice. Good, solid advice. So leave us with some tips if you have any other ones, just solid tips, practical tips for, say, it's someone just starting out. Like literally, I am no longer in the corporate realm and I am now working from home and doing my own thing for the last 2 months. So I'm 2 months in.
Hmm.
So talking to someone like me, just starting out, what's like the basic thing that you want to let people know? This is what you should probably, at the very least, have in place as you move forward and start to do your business and grow your business.
I would think that people starting out actually have a more of an opportunity than somebody that is already really entrenched, because somebody that's been, working forever, um, has so much more overwhelm than somebody starting out, because you can start doing it a little at a time as you grow. So I would say start now, keeping track of all of the things we discussed previously, and every time you add a client, or every time you add a software, or every time you add something, jot it down somewhere. I mean, even if you just, like you said, keep a notebook for now and then add it to the plan as you grow. Um, the most important thing is to keep in mind that you don't have to track every single little thing. You have to track the important things, you know. So, um, but don't let it overwhelm you. Again, do it one step at a time, one chunk at a time, and that way, if you do it as you grow, then to me, that is so much easier. I wish I'd done that from the beginning instead of having to go backwards and figure it all out. I mean, I was digging through emails and digging through, backwards through things to get license numbers and things that I never really thought of. I mean, I had them scribbled down here, scribbled down there, and but to get all of that in one solid place, it took me forever. So if I'd done it starting out, I would have been better
Good stuff there. Good stuff, Susan. Thanks.
off.
Now
Thank you.
my brain is whirling. I'm like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do that now. Ah. Yeah, that's great though. And I literally have a little notebook that I split in half, personal and business, and I'm just jotting down my passwords and programs and stuff that I'm using as I go. And I'm glad that I thought to do that. So at least I'm on the right track there. I have a lot more work
Mhm.
to do, but at least I have that, that I can
Yes, well,
access.
it's a start.
It's a
It's a start.
start. It is a start.
I think the biggest challenge to people is that it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult concept to think of, especially about something happening to you. We tend to all be in denial about that. Like it's not really ever going to happen, or when it does, whatever. But it leaves people in such a position. when your loved ones have to deal with it.
Right.
So, so
And
thinking,
we always think, "Ah, I've got time."
yeah, we do, and we don't.
Unfortunately, that's not the case all the time.
No, no, it isn't.
Well, Susan, thank you so much. This was great stuff, really great tips that you shared with our listeners as well as the readers of Motivate Magazine. I appreciate your time. I do want to share a screen real quick here for our viewers to see how they can get themselves into copy and subscribe to the Motivate magazine, which is, as I stated earlier, underneath the Revival Sanctuary umbrella. Motivate, the small business Bible. The magazine is the micro and small business owners' go-to business Bible, written by small business owners for small business owners who want to lead in their respective industries. So visit motivatemag.com, subscribe, and then also submit your own articles. There's all kinds of stories out there from business owners. You've got valuable information to share. Get onto motivatemag.com and subscribe your own article, and then you too can be in a global magazine. Susan, thanks again for joining me, and thanks everyone for watching our Motivate Magazine edition with all of our article submitters. And wonderful talking to you again, Susan, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and the opportunity to be in the magazine. It's amazing. I've done some advertising there too, which is a really amazing opportunity. So
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because I completely forgot. Very, very reasonably priced, affordably priced advertising for Motivate Magazine. And if you don't have your own ad, we have people on staff that can make the ads for you, and they are dynamic. They are
they
beautiful
are.
ads, really, really nicely done. And I've taken them up on that myself several times, and had them just make it for me. Very affordable in price. So all kinds of opportunities for you folks out there for within Motivate Magazine. So I hope you jump on some of them. Thanks everybody for watching. Take care.